Okay, here we go. Our Zena's swing cut. It's an asymmetric technique. One side is longer, one side is shorter. Also, my three-dimensional shape is graduation, and I go from like a high angle of graduation to a lower angle of graduation. So my two-dimensional and three-dimensional shapes all fit. So starting off in the back, I'll come out like a curved diagonal section. I'll elevate the hair slightly, and here I'm starting to cut in a graduated shape. So kind of think of like a technique that you'll use for a G-bob, yeah? So quite similar to that, but then I'm gonna play around with the back a bit more and change up those lines. So the next section, I'll elevate the hair slightly higher than the first. I'm combing the hair like really clean, and make sure that your elbows, fingers, combs, scissors, sections, they're all parallel. That's essential to really putting in super clean and perfect lines. Okay, so I'll take my next diagonal section. Now break this section into like two pieces, and I'll comb the hair super clean from roots to my guide. And remember, here I'm elevating slightly with each progressive section. Put in super clean lines, so that way when the hair is dry, you can go back and refine your shape perfectly. Okay, so the next portion, staying on your guideline. And once you finish that, just comb the hair to natural fall. You can assess it, and then take your next section. And again, I'm working with diagonal sections and increasing my elevation. And like the body position here, I'm standing like just a little bit right of her occipital bone. And just at this body position, it'll allow me to control my shape and just help me with my over direction. So body position plays a big role when you're working with over direction. So you have to be aware of this. When you're positioned in this best spot, things just flow naturally. Because as we cut, we have a 360-degree sphere of choices that we can choose for our body position, where to stand. So out of those 360, you need to pick one. And it all depends on which technique you're working. So now I'll just go into the nape, and I'm just cutting in that asymmetric line. So I'm cutting from shorter by the ear to longer at the occipital bone. So the right side is done, so we're going to start working our technique through the left side. So I'm going in with horizontal sections. I'm just connecting the shape that I cut on the right, and here I'm extending my lengths, because for my haircut, the left side will be the longer portion. So I have to make sure that my technical shape is also like asymmetric, because my one length goes from short to long. So I have to make sure that my three-dimensional, the shape that I'm cutting, my graduation also goes from a high point of graduation to a low point of graduation, so I can build up like the same internal shape as the external shape. So remember, my intention is on the left side, in the rear, to start building up that length. So I'm still connecting the shape that I cut on the right, but then I'm extending that length as I near the ear. I'm working with a tremendous amount of over direction. So with all this over direction, we know that when this hair falls, once it's cut, it'll start working to somewhat of an A-line shape, and the length will definitely be longer than the length on the right side. Okay, this last area, just be aware for any like jumpy cowlicks around the crown area. If you come across those, just loosen up on the tension, or you can flip off to like the 107, like the wide portion of the teeth, and I'll give you that's probably the safest way to like address any super jumpy cowlicks. And if all goes worse, better to go longer than shorter, because once the hair is dry, we can always take it down. So I'm just going back and refining that line. So notice how it's curved and it goes from short to long. And now through the left, I'm gonna start building up my length. So I take my guideline from the sides, I'm elevating the hair just slightly, and from here I'm just cutting in a just slightly A-line shape. Not too heavy of an angle, but just enough of it. Okay, next section. I'll elevate the hair just slightly. There's no over direction, so I'm just combing the hair straight out. And again, the shape through the sides, I'm cutting just slightly A-line. You could have that, you can do this exact same technique and just like cut in like a massive A-line shape. You can cut it in at like a square zero line, or you can do like concave. So this technique, again, has lots of adaptations to it. But just get it down once, and once you really have a feel for it, and then you can start manipulating and tweaking this technique out. So still, standing in front of what I'm cutting, so I'm like parallel to her shoulders. Just combing that hair directly to my center of balance. So my body position also helps me with my over direction and my elevation. And I'm always standing in front of what I'm cutting, so my eyes can actually see everything that I'm doing. It's all about those details. And when it's about details, you have to be able to see those details. Okay, so now for the opposite side. The right is my shoulder length. So I'm taking my guideline from the band, and I'll comb this hair. I'm elevating a bit, and I'm going in and I'm cutting concave. So now my shape to the front, it goes from long in the back to shorter in the front, which is the exact opposite of an A-line. That A-line that I cut on the left side. So this is in direct contrast. I want these two shapes to be in direct contrast, because those two conflicting techniques is the inspiration of this cut. So in contrast, they'll play off each other and make each other look stronger. Okay, so still working in the sides with each section, I'm elevating just slightly. And again, I'm cutting in concave, so from short to long. And here, I recommend that you drop your elbow, because when dropping your elbow will allow your fingers naturally to fit the shape that we intend to cut through the side. So again, which is like concave. My body position, I'm standing just behind the shoulder, increasing my elevation with each progressive section, and I'm checking in my shape to the back. Make sure with every section you have a piece of that back, because again, our guideline originates from that back portion, so we have to ensure that our entire haircut connects. When our entire haircut connects, we get tons of movement. So again, just elevating slightly higher with each section. We're cutting concave. Make sure we're connecting with the back portion of the haircut. Make sure you're combing the hair super clean, super straight from roots to ends. You really don't have to work with over direction here. The over direction comes more on the left side, where we're building up that A-line shape. You're just working in a progressive, clean manner, yeah? You don't have to rush it. Again, big sections, I recommend breaking them down into smaller, more manageable areas. So maybe this section through the top, I may have to break it down to like 2 or 3 smaller areas. And when I'm working through the crown area, I like to incorporate the back. This haircut, I separate it, I cut the back first, then the side. So technically, I'll get some extra weight, like where the two shapes connect. I really don't want that. So a lot of times when I work through the top, at that crown area, I'll check it into the back, so everything flows a lot softer. So you can notice that increase of elevation compared to the elevation from my guideline. So that means with each progressive section, we're elevating the hair just slightly. Still checking in the lengths through the back. And make sure again that each section you're combing the hair super clean, super straight with no over direction, yeah? And one way to ensure that you're not over directing the hair is to make sure that the strands of the hair that you comb are parallel to the teeth of your comb, and then you'll be okay. So that's like the best indicator, and it's quite handy because throughout the entire haircut, we have a comb in our hand. So a comb has more functions than just combing the hair. Hairline area, I'm just using very little tension. And there we go. So we're going to jump into our blow dry here. I just want to like feel how the hair is moving around, making sure there's nothing else I need to check in. And again, once the hair is dry, I'll go back and I'll polish and refine my shape, and I'll make it even that much more powerful. As I'm drying the hair, I'm always going for like a super shiny effect. So notice how the angle of my nozzle, how it follows my round brush. And also, like, if you really want to get the hair super shiny, I recommend a monster blow dryer. What I mean by monster blow dryer is that I want the wind speed super strong and the heat level like crazy hot. So that way I save time. And with that high wind speed, that will give me a lot of root lift. It will allow me to close that cuticle scale even that much more better. If the wind speed wasn't there, I wouldn't get as much closure with the cuticle scale. So like your selection of dryers is really, really important. Okay, so again, so the finish, I'm using a lot of tension in the beginning just to get that cuticle scale nice and sealed. And then once it's nice and sealed, I'll go in and I'll start to like cook in a big curved shape. So right now I'm just cooking, and I always have the brush moving. I don't want to, like, for this technique, I don't want to dry it too stiff. I want it to be organic. And to get something that's organic and soft and moves a lot, actually I have to start moving a lot throughout the blow dry. Okay, and there we have it, our Xena flying colors. Enjoy! Okay, so now that the hair is dry, I'm gonna go back and I'm just gonna chip into my shape. I really don't want to remove my shape. I think my shape is actually falling quite nice. I just wanted to remove some of that heaviness. So each section, the amount of texturizing I do varies. And when I'm texturizing the hair, I'm working like in shadows. And I always, like for me, the standard when I texturize hair, I want the hair to feel very comfortable when you comb it from roots through the ends without any snags or heaviness. So I'm just cleaning out my outline. My eyes are exactly in front of what I'm cutting, just because only at this position will I be able to see all these details. Again, excellence is always about the details. Now going through the top, I'm going to bust it up a bit, texturize those ends, and I want it to fall a little bit softer. So just cleaning up my lines. We're almost there. When I do details, I just work with the tips of my shears. So I'll just like push the hair around. I want to see how it moves. I'll run my fingers through it just to see if there's anything that's heavy or that snags. If there's anything heavy or snags, I'll go back and I'll soften that shape up a little bit more. Okay, well there we have it. Our Xena swing cut. Enjoy.